And welcome to the Cardinals Rewind, where, Jason, we are celebrating a 26-23 victory against the Cincinnati Bengals. First victory of the year. Victory Monday for the Cardinals.
Victory Monday indeed, brother. That's my best Doug Wolfley. That's probably how he sounded like on Sunday.
Oh, was that a Wolfley?
I didn't. Was that not a good Wolfley?
Oh, yeah. I was thinking
Victory Monday coming in tomorrow. Can't wait. The boy's going to have a good plane ride home. Oh, now my throat hurts.
Yeah, I'd like to apologize to everybody up front on that. And mainly Wolfley.
Oh.
So it was an emotional victory for the Cardinals since obviously last week the news was that the owner, Bill Bidwell, who moved the team to Arizona, passed away last week. And so obviously an emotional victory for the team, the Bidwell family, who was all there. First victory of the year. Kyler Murray, 20 for 32, 253 yards, 0 touchdowns passing, 0 interceptions. But he did have 10 carries for 93 yards and 1 touchdown running, which was a pretty nice bootleg.
Yeah, pretty good in the old fantasy stat records this week for me. Still didn't get the dub, but Kyler did his part and, shown a little bit more with his feet now as we move along, which is always good to see. We'll just see if the Cardinals can stick with it because, when this happens more often than not, you'll find something that works one week and the next week you'll completely go against it.
Well, we'll talk about
because
that.
The matchup.
We'll talk about that coming up with the Falcons because Falcons just got done playing Houston, who has a similar quarterback. I'm not saying Deshaun Watson and Kyler Murray are in the same field per se, but very similar styles. So we'll talk about that when we talk about the upcoming game here. So obviously the positives I have for this week, Cardinals found a running game this week, Jason.
Yeah, they definitely did find the running game. A lot of people were texting and tweeting about Chase Edmonds, who looked phenomenal this week. And, I feel like David Johnson has finally found his role in this offense.
Yeah, that's the exciting thing. Even last week against Seattle, you could tell they found a system for David to run in. And it's not just running the ball, but it's also flare outs. It's, kind of a receiver role. But you're absolutely right. Chase Edmonds, 8 carries, 68 yards, 1 touchdown, which is an impressive 20-something yard touchdown on there. David Johnson had 17 carries for 91 yards. But then Kyler Murray, as I said earlier, 10 carries for 93 yards. That's a heck of a running game for a team that the offensive line gets bashed an awful lot going into this year. And nobody's talking about the offensive line this week.
Yeah, I know a lot of people are going to be like, oh, we'll take this win for what it is. They're playing the Cincinnati Bengals. But no, man, it's always good when you get a win. It's hard to win football games in the NFL. That's, of course, something you always like to say. David Johnson's longest run was 17 yards. Kyler Murray's was 24. Chase Edmonds, his longest run was 37 yards. And Johnson also 3 receptions for 65 yards. So it looks like we're getting some run game and some pass game in. And I'd like to see Edmonds use a little bit more in both.
Balance is the key there. But Kyler Murray's 24-yarder was the one that set up the game-winning field goal. So that was super important for his longest run of the day out there. But I think the word out of this game is strictly balance. We saw a lot more of it out of that Seattle game last week where there was a little bit more balance. But then this week, it was almost like, the ode to real, I'm going to say real football, quote-unquote, but not this air raid offense where they were running the ball, they were passing the ball, Cincinnati's defense had no clue what was going on out there. They were kind of just guessing. The other positive is Kyler Murray didn't throw an interception that turned the game this week, which is always good to see.
Yeah, always great to see from your quarterback.
We don't ask for much, but don't throw a bad interception to turn it. The Cardinals did find the end zone finally this week. They haven't had a problem moving the ball the last couple of weeks, but they have had a problem finding the end zone. That didn't happen this week, although Gonzalez was 4 for 5 on field goals. He missed, I believe, a 31 or 34-yarder early in the game. But he's got his holder back now, so he's coming back around because that's always a big problem. And then the other positive is on the defensive side, Joe Mixon was going to be a big threat this week because the way the Cardinals play their defense. And they contained him. They gave up 19 carries for 93 yards to Joe Mixon, but it was a 4.9 average, which meant they put the ball in Andy Dalton's hands, which leads to my negative. They let Andy Dalton come back and almost beat him.
Yeah, I mean, Joe Mixon, I mean, they definitely contained him. His longest run was an 18-yard run. Other than that, I mean, you really didn't see much. I mean, what's 18 minus 93? I'm not sure on the math there. Well, it's 75 yards, give or take there on 18 carries. So, I mean, yeah, I felt like they did a good job containing him. Almost gave it away and let it slip there late. But was able to pull it out. So I'm not going to fault them for letting Andy Dalton and the – was it Red Rifle? Red Raider?
Well, I got some stats for you on this. Yeah, the Red Rifle.
Yeah, something like that.
But
that ginger.
So they let the Bengals back into the game in the fourth quarter. But it's even worse than that. Like, I just summarized it up. So Cardinals scored a touchdown to make it 22-9 with 7 minutes and 13 seconds to go in the fourth quarter. The game was tied with 2 minutes to go because the Cardinals offense did what they do where they stopped moving the ball, 3 and outs, just went into whatever conservative mode, whatever you want to call it, and allowed the Bengals to come back in. But then the Cardinals woke up again, did that game-winning drive. Kyler Murray had that 24-yard run, sets up Zane Gonzalez for the game-winning kick, kicks it through the uprights as time expires. So that's a huge negative. Because Andy Dalton lit up that defense. And not only that, in that fourth quarter, but not only that, his main target, Tyler Boyd, 10 receptions for 123 yards and a touchdown. And, I mean, this guy was running all over the field there in the fourth quarter, let alone the rest of the game. And so, I mean, that's a huge negative because if they had A.J. Green or any good receiver down there that, top-of-the-line defender – a receiver out there, it would have been just a horrible deal. But then that comes down to the thing is, do they focus on Joe Mixon to shut down the run, and they were willing to sacrifice a little bit on the outside? But like I said, it almost cost them the game with 7:13 to go when they were up 22-9. So that's something that, obviously they need to shore up. However, we still have Patrick Peterson. We're still 1 week away. This week against the Falcons, he is not playing.
So do you think you need him?
And then he's coming back. Well, that's what we're going to go into when we talk about the Falcons there. But that's really the only negative I put down for the Cardinals on there. They just signed Farrah Cooper back off of the Bengals practice squad, I believe, or their deal. And he actually had an impact. He only had 2 catches this week, but both of his catches were big, leading towards scores, things like that. So the balance is key, and if they keep that going, I'm not saying they're going to win a ton more games, but that balance was nice to see. It's almost like these first few games where, Cliff Kingsbury's saying, I'm going to do it my way. And then he's like,
I did it my way.
And then he's like, my way's not working, and we're getting our butts kicked.
My way or the highway.
So now he's adjusting. And that's
was
actually,
Sinatra mixed with Limp Bizkit.
Yeah,
there,
that was,
for those wondering.
That was phenomenal. Phenomenal.
Yeah, I should, off topic here real quick, try to put together a Frank Sinatra, I Did It My Way, and a Limp Bizkit, that My Way or the Highway song. Dub them, mash them up.
Again, phenomenal.
Okay, I'll try. We'll have that be the rejoin next week. No, some things I want to look at, though, from this past weekend, also heading into this weekend, man. I get a 3 and out. Hey, you couldn't get the ball down the field, but 27 seconds you're only taking off the clock.
Yep.
Late in the game.
Throwing
that is ridiculous, especially up 23-16. Not only that, but you look at some of their other drives. I know they do, a lot of hurry-up offense and stuff like that. But, 12 play. Their longest drive was 12 plays, 5 minutes, 5:01. Then later in the second quarter, they had a 12-play, 73-yard drive for 3.5 minutes. So, they can get the ball down the field in a hurry when they need to. You've got to be able to take time off the clock, though, late when you're up. So, it'll be interesting to see what Kingsbury and the company do going forward. I know Cliff, he's used to Texas Tech where, hey, we got the lead, let's keep throwing the ball because that's what we do. And we're going to get more touchdowns and put up more points and win by X amount. Well, here, it's a little bit different.
Almost cost them because they came back in a roaring hurry. On there and watching that, I was actually in a car driving back to Arizona from California and was watching the game, and I couldn't believe what I was watching. It was just infuriating watching that offense just give the ball back with no time off the clock, insisting on throwing it, and run the ball once and at least run they would have let the 45-second clock run down to 1 before they snapped it, they would have had more
Right.
time off the clock, after a running play. And especially since the running play was working so well, I feel like they kind of abandoned it when they got that. But like I said, learning that's what we're in right now. And one reason why we're doing this is to document and our thoughts on this progress we hope they're making. Because I know last week after the Seattle game, we were kind of in dire straits about how bad the team's regressing. But I have a feeling that the Cincinnati Bengals are going to make a lot of teams think they're Super Bowl bound.
Yeah, pretty much so. I kind of have them and the Dolphins penciled into that Week 16 slot of being who's going to get the first pick of the draft, who's getting Tua.
I read an article this week where, the Bengals don't really need a quarterback. Quarterback's not their problem, as Andy Dalton just showed.
Yeah, but I know some people are getting stale on him.
Yeah, well, I get that. Because he's going to take the brunt of it. But I was reading this week that the head coach for the Cincinnati Bengals, I don't even know his name, but he's running the exact same offense. One player that was cut or released or traded or something said that he's running the exact same offense as the Los Angeles Rams. He just doesn't have the talent.
Yeah.
And, it's like, well, you don't have the talent, so maybe you shouldn't be running such a complex offense as the Rams if you don't have the talent there. But they just look awful. I don't see how this guy escapes after this year, if he even makes it to the end of the year. And now the Bengals are talking about trading AJ Green. My favorite thing was I saw a quote from a Bengals player after the game, and he said, "Man, if AJ Green gets traded, it's going to destroy the mentality of this team." And I was
the locker room.
You're 0 for 4. What are you talking about?
Don't think that's going to destroy 0-5 team. Oh man.
And they look the guy
good.
Who
hasn't played yet this season is getting traded because he doesn't want to play this season because he's looking out for him.
Yeah.
Destroyed.
I didn't think the Bengals looked like they were going to win this game at any point until that 5-minute stretch in the fourth quarter, where it was like, they woke up and we went to sleep because we have a big lead and we don't know how to win yet, So, those are the serious positives on that. But this Cardinals team is growing, which leads us into this week. We have the 1-4 Atlanta Falcons coming into town to State Farm Stadium. 1:05 kickoff. Man, the Falcons are bad. Did you see Deshaun Watson, because he played him last week, talk about their defense? And he basically said that they just let him do whatever he wanted to do.
The Falcons might as well be called the Atlanta Turkeys because Deshaun Watson carved that team up last week.
Did you?
And looking at it, I know we always kind of focus on the Cardinals here. Well,
did you?
My joke there.
Did you plan that, or is that just off the top of your head?
That was off the top of my head.
Okay.
Was that good?
No, it was god awful.
Oh.
But if it's off the top of your head, I'll forgive you.
Okay.
If you wrote that down to save it,
well,
anyway.
Note for next time I talk about the Falcons. But now we got to battle the birds this week, Cardinals and Falcons. So, make sure never mind. Man, I don't know. I feel like this Cardinals team, they have quit on their coach. They have quit on...
You mean Falcons?
Yeah, that's why I said the Falcon team, not the Turkey team, the Falcons.
You said the Cardinals.
I said the Falcons. I said this Falcons team. There's Steve.
And
roll it back.
Mark it.
Mark it. No, I feel like this team's quit on their team. I don't understand how they're even 2.5-point favorites coming on the road.
Right.
I feel like, I'm going to tell you right now, Cardinals win this game, Dan Quinn gets fired. You have that GM's going to be not far behind him after this year because they have the number 1 highest paid wideout in Julio Jones, the number 5 top paid running back in Devontae Freeman, who never gets used, and you have the number 6 top paid quarterback in Matt Ryan, and that offense is atrocious.
So I read an article. I know like you said, we focus more on the Cardinals on this, but it's good to bring up these things because there was an article 2 weeks ago where it said Arthur Blank, the owner of the Falcons, said he's sticking by the team. But, this team needs a culture change. The Falcons have done nothing since that Super Bowl loss where the Patriots came back and beat them.
And that's a game that they did nothing in the fourth quarter.
Yes. So, and they have done nothing since.
For 2.5 seasons and a quarter.
They have been god-awful and getting worse. Dirk Cutter's back as their offensive coordinator, which gave them hope. And like you said, they are not utilizing their high-paid wideouts that are some of the best in the league. They're not using their running backs.
I saw Mohamed Sanu's and trade rumors.
And Matt Ryan they don't have a running game at all, and Matt Ryan is throwing the ball 30-something, 40 times a game, and that's not a recipe for victory in the NFL. As the Cardinals found out early in the season when Kyler Murray was throwing the ball 40 times, it's the teams just back off and get interceptions and be able to sack you, stuff like that. So my keys to this game are keep the Falcons' running game in check. They run the ball a decent amount. It just hasn't gone anywhere yet. Do not let this be the week where the Falcons decide figure out how to run. Excuse me. On offense, the Cardinals need to keep their run and pass balance for their offense. So same thing as they did against the Bengals. Basically going with the same game plan. Change up your plays, obviously. No costly interceptions for Kyler Murray. And then, obviously, stop Matt Ryan. Put the game in Matt Ryan's hands, just like you did with Andy Dalton. But this time, don't let him throw for what he throws for.
I mean, I think you definitely want Matt Ryan to throw the ball, as Steve Dies over here. And you only have to cover one guy, really. I mean, that's Julio Jones. You take Julio Jones out of the game, you're golden, I feel like, on defense. It'll be real interesting to see if that defense can do it this week. But then on defensive side for the Falcons, they have nothing going for them. I'm not going to say this is going to be career day for Kyler Murray, but I think it'll be probably one of the best games he has so far, if the game plan's right. I mean, obviously, we're sitting here talking, Kyler has talent. He can do this, he can do that, but we don't know what the game plan is.
Here's the questions that I have is, this is a must-win for the Falcons if they're going to do anything this season, because I agree with you. They lose this one, and they're going to be packing their bags and getting ready for golf. So it's almost like a must-win. So do they have a fight left in them? One, obviously, like you said, Quinn is on a very hot seat. Dirk Cutter's taking a lot of heat over there, so they're going to put something together on that. But, again, they just played the Houston Texans where Deshaun Watson – like I said, I'm not comparing Deshaun Watson and Kyler Murray by any stretch here, but they are similar quarterbacks where he will stop back, he will throw the ball, he will run the ball. Same thing as Kyler Murray. So the Falcons just saw the Cardinals play the Bengals. They just faced it with the Houston Texans. So will their pride and their game plan and everything allow them to come up, or this is the week where they're able to stop it, seeing it twice in a row? I don't think so. I think the Cardinals win this game pretty handily. It's going to be like 22-10, something in that range, 25-10.
Which wouldn't be a shocker because look at the losses this year for the Falcons. Week 1, 28-12 against the Vikings. Win week 2 against the Eagles. Colts beat them 27-24. Lost to the Titans 24-10. Then this week, I guess their best offensive performance, but defense-wise, Watson threw for 5 touchdowns, so they lose 53-32. I really don't have faith in this Falcons team, and that 2.5-point spread. I'm telling you right now, if you're in Vegas and you're better, put money on the Cardinals because they're covering that all day.
I mean, I don't know what you're looking at, unless they know something we don't know, what they're looking at on why it would be a 2.5 favorite for the Falcons, because they're just not, doing anything. I'm sure they put points up against some of these teams, but they're late points. And
being the home team, you get guaranteed 3.
You get
right.
Yeah, you get the 3, and then
that's what we've been told. No bookie.
Yeah, right. So it'll be interesting to see. So who do you got this weekend, Jason?
I like the Cardinals winning this one. Back-to-back wins. Score, let's go. I'll say 34-17.
See, I still don't have the faith that the Cardinals are going to find the end zone like they did.
I think they get past the 30 mark here.
So hopefully, I hope you're right on that. Absolutely on that. So so hopefully next week we're talking about the first 2-game win streak for the Arizona Cardinals on the 2019
That's what
season.
we call a streak, baby. Some quick notes there for some free agency notes and waiver wire stuff like that. They did claim Trevor Williams, a quarterback from the Chargers. He's had a combined 110 tackles. 17 assisted tackles, 3 interceptions. One of those was a pick 6 for 86 yards. Get you excited?
Only because he's got experience, and we have some rookies playing back there for the Cardinals. So that experience in there will probably help out a little bit more. And I know they cut one of their young cornerbacks to make room for him in there. So it's exciting on that front. But let's be honest, Chargers aren't exactly lighting up the defensive secondary this year. and he's available from them. So a little worrisome, but he brings experience in, which is what is exciting.
They did also sign, I think it just came down today, Ramik Wilson. Of course, that's a household name you've never heard of.
Middle linebacker?
Yeah,
right?
Linebacker. Inside linebacker, what we got here. Went to Georgia, drafted by the Chiefs, been in the league for 4 years or so. So, I mean, stats weren't very impressive from what I saw. But
no, and he came from Green Bay?
He was with the Rams last.
Right, Rams,
so he's with Kansas City for 3 years, went to the Rams last. Started 11 games in 2016, started 4 the last couple of years. So, I mean, he's a guy with experience too, that linebacker position. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, he's got some talent in front of him in the Rams organization there, and that linebacker and that front seven for the Rams. So, but I think that's good. They needed that depth in there because Terrell Suggs has that back issue. He did play last week, but he's got a back issue. They want to kind of nurse a little bit in there, and then it just gives some breaks in there. He's got experience, and that's what we need in that backs, back secondary area in the linebacking core. Depth right now because that's really thin as we go on. And
they also brought in defensive end Shane Ray, former first-round pick from the Broncos back in 2015, I believe, for a workout. No word on him yet if he's getting signed or not.
And then they cut the punter that punted last weekend, which I apologize. I don't know his name. He had 2 punts for like 50 yards or something. And they released him, which means Andy Lee's hip flexor must be better, and he's going to be back this week. So that's positive. And
I had the name up earlier, and they cut Chris Jones, the cornerback you were talking about.
Cornerback, there we go, Chris Jones. I knew it was Jones, but I didn't want to say it because I'd say Pac-Man or something on there. So, I mean, they're trying to do things to improve the team, but, I mean, the Buccaneers are just making so many roster moves on the back end with guys that, whatever. But when you're tinkering with the back end like that, it's always a little worrisome on what's going on in there, but we have some positive. They won their first game. Woohoo!
And hopefully we're celebrating our streak next week.
2-game winning streak, hopefully. So anyway, that's what we got. You can find me at SMAC500 on Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat for my Cardinals deal. We'll be there this weekend. And Jason, where can people find you at?
You can find me at JasonCarter03 on Twitter.
And all that exciting, fun jazz. So definitely interact with us on what you think on the team. And, I tweet during the games, usually not nice things sometimes, but we'll see how it is. And I just expect this to be a drubbing this weekend. Anything less than that, I don't know why I'm so confident in that, because we've all been around for what happens. So anyway, next week we will see you then. Thanks for listening.